Hey everyone and welcome! Today we're looking at George Orwell's 1984 Proles, one of the most impactful and disturbing books of the 20th century. It came out in 1949, but it's still super relevant today. You hear terms like Big Brother, Thoughtcrime, and doublethink all the time. They've become shorthand for how scary authoritarianism and messed up truth can be. But 1984 is way more than just a bunch of catchphrases. It's a really deep look at power, language, memory, and what it means to be human when the world's trying to take your humanity away. We're going to check out the book's main ideas, how it's written, and why Orwell's vision is still so on point even now. Quick note: Orwell wrote 1984 after World War II. He'd seen totalitarian governments like Nazi Germany and Stalinist Russia up close. He also fought in the Spanish Civil War and worked for the BBC during the war. So he knew a lot about propaganda, political tricks, and how easily truth can be broken. This book is his ultimate statement on how totalitarian control works. The book is set in Airstrip 1, which used to be Britain, but now it's just part of the superstate Oceania. Orwell builds up this world where there's always war going on, and these three huge superstates, Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia, keep switching who's on which side. But here's the kicker: the war might just be a show, a way to use up resources and keep everyone scared and poor. Society is split into three groups. First, you have the inner party, the bigwigs who control everything. They are about 2% of the people. Then there's the outer party, the educated middle class who are the workers and office people. And finally, the proles, who are most of the people, and they're kept uneducated. Our main character, Winston Smith, is in the outer party. He works at the Ministry of Truth, where he rewrites old stuff to match whatever the party says is true now. What's so scary about Orwell's world is that it feels real. It's not like sci-fi with crazy tech or aliens. 1984 shows a world built on things people actually do: wanting power, being easily fooled, and being cruel. The tech in the book, telescreens, microphones, hidden cameras, was pretty much around when Orwell was writing. He didn't guess new tools, but how they could be used to watch and rule everyone. 1984 really flips the idea of political power on its head. Usually you think dictators grab power to get something: money, land, safety, or for some cause. But O'Brien, who questions Winston and speaks for the party, says something way worse. The party just wants power for the sake of it. He tells Winston, the object of power is power. That's a crazy step up in totalitarianism. The party doesn't just want you to do as you're told, it wants you to love them. It doesn't just want to control what you do, it wants to control what you think. That's why Room 101 is there, not just to punish you for disagreeing, but to make you a true believer. When Winston finally says he loves Big Brother, the party's won for good. Orwell looks at how this total power works in different ways. Physical control is clear: the thought police, making people disappear and always threatening violence. But controlling info and history is more sneaky. The Ministry of Truth is always changing the past, and that does something big. If the party controls everything written down, and if people can't trust their own memories, then the party controls what's real. When O'Brien holds up 4 fingers and tells Winston to say he sees 5, he's showing that the party gets to say what's real. The book also gives us doublethink, believing 2 things that don't match up at the same time and being okay with it. It's not just lying, it's like your brain is wired to not care about things not making sense. Party members have to use doublethink all the time. The Ministry of Peace makes war, the Ministry of Truth tells lies, the Ministry of Love uses torture, and the Ministry of Plenty makes sure there's not enough stuff around. To make it work in this world, you have to just roll with things that don't make sense. One of Orwell's smartest ideas is about how language and thought connect. The party makes up Newspeak, a super simple language meant to make people unable to have weird thoughts. It's a scary idea about how language shapes how we think. Newspeak works like this: if you get rid of words for things, you can't think about those things. Words like freedom still exist, but they're made simple, like the dog is free from fleas. The word free meaning, like free from being bossed around, just goes away. Without the words to disagree, disagreeing becomes harder. Some people think the section about Newspeak, because it's written like it's in the past, means the party might have fallen someday. But whether or not that's true, Newspeak in the book clearly shows what happens when people are controlled completely. It's not enough to punish bad thoughts after they happen. The point is to make them impossible to think in the first place. Orwell knew language wasn't just a neutral way to say what you think. It molds and limits what we can think. By messing with language, the party tries to mess with thought itself. This idea was way ahead of its time, predicting what we now know about language and thought. In Oceania, privacy isn't just limited, it's not even thought of as something that can exist. Telescreens watch everything you do, kids are encouraged to tell on their parents, and the party messes with your personal life, like sex. The goal is to wipe out the line between what's public and what's private. The party's view of sex is telling. They don't get rid of wanting sex, but they control it. For party members, sex is no fun, just a duty to make babies. The party wants to use sexual frustration and use it to make people be enthusiastic about the party and hate its enemies. Groups like the Junior Anti-Sex League try to stop normal human desires and send that energy toward political things. Winston's thing with Julia isn't just a personal bad thing, it's a political act of disagreeing. Them being together in the room above Mr. Charrington's shop is like them making a private space where the party can't get to them. Of course, it turns out the room was being watched the whole time. But just wanting that shows what the party fears most. People connecting without the party butting in. Taking away privacy does a few things. It stops people from plotting and disagreeing in secret. More importantly, it stops people from becoming themselves. In normal societies, your private life, family, friends, your own thoughts, make space for you to grow as a person separate from what you do for work or in public. By taking that away, the party makes sure people only exist as party members. Winston's diary, his secret thoughts, Julia, these are all him trying to show he exists outside of what the party says he is. Maybe the most relevant thing about 1984 and today is how Orwell looks at truth and what's real. The party's saying, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past, shows how power works by messing with what people remember. Winston changes old records at the Ministry of Truth all the time. Articles, photos, papers, they all get changed to match what the party says now. When Oceania switches from being friends with Eurasia to friends with Eastasia, all the records have to show that Oceania was always friends with Eastasia and at war with Eurasia. It's not just lying, it's wiping out truth completely, so you can't check if anything about the past is real. That makes it hard to know anything. How do we know what's real? Usually we trust our memories, what's written down, and what other people remember. But what if all of that is messed with? Winston remembers Oceania being friends with Eurasia, but all the books say otherwise, and everyone else believes the new version. Can he trust his own memory? Can one person's memory stand up against what everyone else thinks is true? The party's answer is no. There's no such thing as real truth. Reality only exists in our heads, and if the party controls everyone's heads, it controls what's real. When O'Brien tortures Winston, he's not just trying to make Winston lie about how many fingers he sees. He wants Winston to really see 5 fingers when there are only 4. The idea of what you see having to match what's actually there has to be wiped out. That ties into the memory hole, the tube where they drop old documents to burn them. The memory hole is a good way to think about how totalitarian governments handle facts they don't like. They just get rid of them, erase them from history like they never happened. No arguing, just erasing. What Orwell shows here is like today's arguments about post-truth politics, alternative facts, and how we can't agree on what's real. We haven't gotten to 1984's levels of crazy, but we see bits of it in how political groups treat facts as it's about loyalty than about what's real. Orwell knew that to control people, you need not just fear, but also excitement for the government. That's what the 2 minutes hate is about. Every day, party members watch films meant to make them hate Emmanuel Goldstein, the supposed leader of the resistance, and Oceania's enemies. The 2 minutes hate does a few things. First, it lets people let out the annoyance and frustration they have from living under a harsh government. People are mad about where they are, but that anger has to be aimed away from the party and toward people the party approves of. Second, it makes people feel like they're on the same team. Hating the same things makes people stick together and with the party. Third, it reminds everyone that there are enemies everywhere, which makes the party's heavy-handed actions and constant state of panic seem okay. What's interesting is how Orwell knew that hate can get more political support than love. Love needs something real to focus on, and that thing can let you down. Hate, especially hate for someone far away, can last forever. The party doesn't focus on getting people to love Big Brother, though it does want that. It focuses on getting them to hate Goldstein and Oceania's enemies. That hate is easier to keep going and less likely to turn into the opposite. Goldstein might not even be real. He might just be something the party made up. His book, The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism, might have been written by the party itself. Whether Goldstein is real or not, his purpose is clear. He's everything the party's against, so he's someone to hate and an easy answer for any problems. Sabotage, shortages, wars, it's all Goldstein's fault. Winston and Julia show two different ways to deal with a totalitarian government. Winston disagrees as a thinker. He wants to know how the system works, to keep the real past alive, to figure out why the party acts the way it does. He keeps a diary, tries to understand the Proles, and likes the past. That all shows he wants truth and meaning. Julia, on the other hand, disagrees in a more personal way. She doesn't care about the party's ideas or grand political statements. She just wants to find ways to have fun and be happy within the rules. She's had affairs, she breaks little rules all the time, but she accepts that the party will always be there. She's using tactics to against the party, she's not attempting to change it. Orwell shows us that both of them have their reasons, but he also shows what they can't do. Winston's thinking doesn't help much without anyone to act. His diary will be found, his thoughts will be seen, and reading about the system doesn't make him any better at fighting it. Julia's personal fun, while making her feel good for a while, doesn't change the system and might even make it stronger by letting people blow off steam. The sad part is that neither of them, alone or together, can stand up to the party. That's Orwell's dark view of how individuals can mess with a government that controls everything. Without people working together, without a crack in the government's grip, people disagreeing on their own will just be used up and destroyed. The pair eventually turning on each other under torture shows the party's ultimate win. The party doesn't just want to stop them from disagreeing, it wants to destroy their love, to prove that nothing can stand up to enough pressure. When Winston says Julia should be tortured instead of him, and Julia says the same thing, the party has shown that even love, the strongest human feeling, can be used as a weapon and destroyed. Throughout the book, Winston hopes that if there is hope, it lies in the Proles. The Proles, most of the people kept poor and uneducated, are the only ones who might be able to end the rule in Oceania. There are way more of them than party members, and the party doesn't control them as much as it controls party members. But Orwell shows a tough problem. The Proles have the numbers and, in theory, the power to knock out the party. But they don't know and organization to do it. The party keeps them busy with work, lottery tickets, adult content, and alcohol. They don't remember the past, don't know anything about politics, and don't see themselves as a group with things in common. As Winston says, until the Proles know what's going on, they can't fight back, and until they fight back, they can't know what's going on. This shows how Orwell felt about Marxist ideas. Marxism said that the working class would see how they were being used and get rid of capitalism. Orwell, who was a socialist himself, shows a future where that knowing is stopped from ever happening. The party has learned from history and makes sure people don't see what's happening. The part where Winston asks an old prole in a pub about the past says a lot. The old man remembers things, but his memories are small, personal, and not connected to any bigger picture. He remembers beer prices, but he can't give Winston the info he's looking for. That shows that just remembering isn't enough. You need a way to understand history and society, and the party has stopped that from developing among the proles. Orwell's writing in 1984 stands out for being so simple. That's not an accident. It shows Orwell's belief that clear writing is a good thing for politics. In his essay, Politics and the English Language, Orwell said that unclear writing makes it easier to think unclearly and to twist things for political gain. The easy-to-understand writing of 1984 shows his belief that truth needs to be clear. The book's structure is also important. The long part from Goldstein's book breaks into the story at a key moment. Some readers find this part hard to get through, but it does a few good things. It gives the background for understanding Oceania's society. It shows that Winston wants to understand, and it creates a sense of drama. We find out later that the party might have written this book, meaning Winston has been looking for truth from the very source of lies. The part about Newspeak, written like it's from a time after Oceania has fallen, gives a bit of hope that some readers cling to. But others say it's just a scholarly way of writing and doesn't mean the party lost. That uncertainty is what Orwell does best. He gives just enough to make people argue and guess. The story's end, with Winston giving up and truly loving Big Brother, isn't meant to make you feel good. Usually, stories end with either a hero or a sad someone dies. Orwell doesn't give us either. Winston doesn't die a hero. He's broken, turned into a true believer. That end is worse than the other options, because it shows the totalitarian government winning completely. So why does 1984 still matter so much, nearly 75 years after it came out? The book didn't guess everything right. We don't live under Ingsoc. Disagreeing with the government isn't punished by disappearing, and history hasn't been completely rewritten. But the book's main ideas still feel important. We live in a time of tracking capitalism, where companies follow our every move. Governments can watch us in ways Orwell couldn't have guessed. The media is all over the place, and we have different groups run on different sets of facts. Using language to trick people for political reasons, what we might call Newspeak light, is still something people in power might do. Still, we can't throw a 1984 around every time. Everyone in today's political arguments tends to act like their opponents are Orwellian. The term Orwellian has been used so much that it's lost most of its meaning. Real dangers to truth and freedom exist, but they're usually less crazy than getting stepped on forever. Orwell's book works best not as an easy copy of today's problem, but as a two experiments that describes how authoritarian control works. The book's biggest gift is its ideas about power, language, and truth. It taught us to be worried about soft language and propaganda. It showed how language can hide instead of to show. It showed how messing with the past helps those in power now. Those are still important lessons. Most of all, 1984 says that it's possible to keep truth and humanity alive even when things are really bad. Winston fails, but his failing matters. Him trying to disagree, to remember, to love, to keep his humanity, that shows the values the party wants to wipe out. The book feels hopeless, but it paradoxically says what's worth fighting for: truth, freedom, love, and the importance of the human on the inside. As we work against truth, spying, and power, Orwell's dark view isn't so much predicting the future as it is warning us, a reminder of what can happen when we stop caring about truth, when we let people mess with our privacy, and when we let power work without being checked. The book tells us to watch out, to question power, to care about truth even when it's not easy, and to keep spaces open for real human in an increasingly messed up world. Thanks for joining me in looking at 1984. I hope this look makes you like Orwell's book even more and see how it still matters today. If you like this, please click like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.